Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Mia Muhammad Farhan bin Fazil. My metric number is 1220280. So as for the introduction, the article explores the philosophy of science in Islamic thought, focusing on its unique methodologies and structure. It examines how Islamic principles shape scientific approaches, aiming for the unity of nature through revelation and intellectual intuition. Highlighted methodologies include Tajribi, Burhani, Irfani, and Bayani, contrasting them with modern science. The document also discussed the integration of religious and secular perspective and the historical context of Islamic intellectual traditions.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. My name is Ahmad Shami bin Salihuddin and my metric number is 1220274. Now I'm talking about philosophy of science in Islamic thought perspective. Islamic response. Global crisis and Western science. Global crisis is actually brought by Western science, and this is actually caused by ignorance of Islamic heritage, which has been reduced in Islamic practices. And then the understanding of Islamic science. Islamic science also understood as a form of modern Western science, and Western science is also used as a reference point for Islamic science nature. So Islamic science and modern Western science is kind of relatable. And then the process and results is actually determined to philosophical foundation, theoretical framework, scientific paradigm, and basic assumptions. This called as sense, and these three things analyze scientific building and scientific activity in general. These three things also shape the nature of the resulting knowledge, and this theory operates within the confines of its paradigm. The last one, branches of science. The branches of science include natural sciences, social sciences, and humanities. This theoretical framework and methodology. So theory has a methodological consequences. The methodology allows scientific finding to be accepted or rejected rationally or and objectively. And then there are also difference between method and methodology, whereas method is technical and methodology is philosophical. So that's all from me. Thank you.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. So, for the philosophical science dimensions from Islamic thought's perspective, it is necessary to examine the two structures given in order to find the philosophical dimension. First, the religious Islam structures that consist of three divisions of Islam, and Iman and Ihsan. The first one is Islam. Islam is following God's order and law that determine the value of human goals and action. The next one is Iman, or called faith. There is fundamental belief that must be believed for all the Muslims. The third one is Ihsan, which is embracing the realization of the moral values and gaining the relationship with nature and world. So, the second one is science as a branch of intellectual activity. Scientists from all over the world had agreed that science divided into four basic components, which is well-formulated subject of accumulative knowledge that consists of data, theories, and laws. The next one is basic assumptions as the epistemological foundation of the science concerned. The next one is study method use, whereby the study methods are generally guiding the Muslim scholars and scientists. And the last one is goals that science trying to attain, whereby to find the reality of subject concerned or studied.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad Fakr Afwan, and right now I'm going to talk about basic assumption and its categories. Based on nature and epistemological status, the basic assumptions of science adopted by a certain scientific group may not fall into essential knowledge or dubious truth. In the opinions of Muslim philosophers of science, all basic assumptions can be reduced into the following four categories. The first one, categories of various views or beliefs that are perceived. Then the second one is categories of generally accepted views or belief. The third one, categories of sensory knowledge or empirical data based on sense and perception. And the last category is categories of intellectual principles that are accepted intuitively. This categorization helps in understanding how Islamic philosophy of science views the foundational assumptions underlying scientific inquiry, aligning them with Islamic epistemology and worldview. Based on the four categories that I have explained in the previous slide, Muslim philosophers have distinguished between those four categories of basic assumptions in science and their epistemological status. Let's start with the first, second, and third categories, which is about various views, generally accepted views, and sensory knowledge. These categories of assumptions are considered potentially fallible. They may be correct or incorrect and need scrutiny to ensure they align with Islamic doctrine. Next, the fourth category, which is focusing on intellectual principles. Muslim philosophers consider the assumptions in this category to have the ultimate truth and high credibility. These assumptions are based on intuition and logic, which are seen as foundation to the perfection of science. And lastly, relevance to different science. Assumptions based on sensory and empirical data are more suitable for empirical science like physics and chemistry, which deal primarily with observable phenomena. However, science dealing with subjective matters such as elements of belief and conjecture require a combination of empirical and rational knowledge to formulate necessary assumptions. Therefore, Muslim philosophers emphasize the importance of distinguishing between different types of assumptions in science, understanding their epistemological foundations, and ensuring they are aligned with Islamic principles where applicable. Basic assumptions in science main role is to provide and supply us with rational doctrines that can be more scientifically justified to serve as the basic assumptions of various science kinds. And the role of rational doctrines in providing scientifically justified basic assumptions across various fields of science are further divided into four categories. The first one is cosmological doctrines. These are crucial for establishing the foundation of science, such as physics and biology. They provide the fundamental principles that underpin scientific inquiry into the natural world. The second one is life science. Assumption in fields related to life must incorporate concepts such as soul and life, which are integral to understanding living organisms. And the third one is integration of science and religion. Muslim scientists emphasize the importance of a scientific spirit guided by religious principles. This integration helps in pursuing various sciences, including religion and philosophy, with a comprehensive views of knowledge. And the last one is unified knowledge. Muslim scientists recognize the interconnectedness and unity of all knowledge. This holistic perspective influences their search for and development of basic assumptions in science, leading to a stronger and more resilient intellectual foundation.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Mia Muhammad Farhan bin Fazil. My metric number is 1220280. And today, my part is Islamic ethics and science methodologies. Science in Islam incorporates ethical considerations and cultural assessment. Islam conforms to ethical and moral dimensions directed by Sharia teachings. And also the Islamic value framework for scientific applications is shaped by Sharia, that Islam divides behavior among people into five categories, which is makruh, mubah, haram, sunnah, and obligatory, which is wajib. And next is the majority of non-Muslim leaders in modern science contradict Islam doctrine. To revive Islamic science, it is necessary to revolve this methodological discrepancy. And lastly is Islamic and traditional civilizations conceptualize methodology differently, while modern science is tied to the scientific process. Islamic science methodologies. The scientific method dominance affects perceptions of pre-modern and Islamic science. Recent scholarship recognizes methodological plurality in science with diverse approach, such as physicists like Capra explore Eastern doctrines for modern physics challenges, and Islamic science rooted in Tawhid which is unity, offers diverse methodologies. Islamic methodologies aim for the unity of nature through revelation and intellectual intuition. Next is Islamic science methodologies for tajribi and burhani approaches. Islamic intellectual tradition includes valid scientific methodologies, tajribi, burhani, ifani, and bayani. So for tajribi method, based on experimentation, was prominent in the early Islamic scientific era. Muslim scholars conducted experiments to validate theories in fields like astronomy and medicine, while burhani methods extend beyond physical objects to non-physical realms. Burhani methods relies on reason, which is akli, to explore non-sensory object and also the sensory perception.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Hasbul Haris Amin Hasbul Azani, and I will continue with the other methods, which first is the Ifani method. Ifani method use intuition alongside senses and reason for knowledge. For the intuitive insight, they values inner understanding to grasp better truth. For the holistic approach, they integrate spiritual insight with observation and logic, and Islamic scholarship complements other methods like experiment, logic, and Quranic study. Okay, next we will continue with the Bayani method, which is the method that use Quran for knowledge about both spiritual and natural world. For the interpretation, scholar studies Quranic verses on nature to understand universe. Second is about the integration that connect faith with scientific inquiry, and lastly about the complements that works with other Islamic method like experiment, logic, and intuition.
Assalamualaikum. My name is Muhammad Hamka bin Yassin. My metric number is 1222924, and today I will discuss about integration of Islamic principle with scientific inquiry. So the importance is science should follow Sharia and ethical values because scientific work must align with Islamic belief. Ethical and metaphysical principles are essential in science, and this keep Islamic science authentic. And the reason integrate Islamic principle with science because guide science. We do not have Tawhid values, and science Islam have Tawhid values for true happiness because science actually ignoring God leads to intellectual death. Nature and human existence are interconnected, and Islamic science recognize God's role in all life aspects. Now, we shift to importance of aligning scientific endeavors with ethical and metaphysical. Align science with ethical and metaphysical consideration so we can integrate metaphysical principle to maintain life true meaning. Follow this principle to prevent ecological disaster because we want to emphasize nature and human interconnectedness. Recognize God's role in all existence for true happiness and prevent intellectual and spiritual decay with this principle, and that's why Islamic science philosophy is very, very important. So we come to conclusion. So the conclusion is Islamic science integrate Islam, three-dimension Islam, which is Islam, Iman, and Ihsan, with science component, which is subject matter, assumptions, and methodology, and objective. Intuitive truth form its foundation. Islamic methodology includes revelation and intellectual intuition, emphasizing Tawhid unity. Thus, science also reflect Islamic principles and worldview. And that's all from us. Thank you.